Right, so this video's felt like a long time coming. We've done several videos at Farlow's that people watching this will probably already know. And this one's kind of going to conclude those videos for the foreseeable future. And yeah, we'll still be fishing Farlow's and trying to catch some of the carp that have evaded us. But we thought it was time to kind of conclude the videos for now and never say never sort of thing. We wanted to also change them slightly, so we was thinking how can we make them a little bit different, and then we come together and thought, well, actually we get a lot of inboxes from people asking questions, and we wanted to kind of do a video that answered those questions and helped others really. One of my pet hates is on social media when someone asks for help and someone says, oh, get out and do it yourself, or why are you asking this? Why are you bothering commenting? You know, if you go to school or you learn to drive and someone said, get in the car, go on, there she is, start the baby up, off you go. You'd think they're crazy. We're not doing it for them. You're not walking in there swimming casting their rod. But if you can help them a little bit and direct them in the right way, they're going to go away and then practice that, put it into their own thing, adapt it into their own style, and hopefully catch a few fish. This video is going to be based around that. It's going to be based about sharing our experiences as well as our knowledge, what we've learned along the way, all the effort we put in, all the time we've spent on the venue. And you know, we've got to a position where we've been able to go out in the boat sometimes, and we speak to the staff and we become friends with people who have been around the venue for ages. So all of that accumulates a degree of knowledge. We want to share that knowledge with you guys as much as we possibly can through a video form. It's very hard for us to cover everything, but we're going to try and cover a fairly big chunk of an insight to the story to help you guys start your journey. And to be honest with you, that's what we've done. Our experiences have come from ourselves, getting out there and doing things, but we've also learned from watching others, seeing what they do. And it's not necessarily the best angler in the world that can teach you. I've been at Farlow's before and someone's just started fishing and I've seen them do something and I thought, oh, that's a cool idea, I can use that, and then you do it. The inboxes that I refer to from people who are asking us questions about Farlow's, they're not all from new anglers. In fact, some of them have been from anglers that I aspire to be as good as, or you know, work in the industry, and they're inboxing me. Me and Lewis don't look at ourselves as professionals or anything like that. This is our hobby. We're doing it. We're trying to do it to the best of our ability when we do it, and that's how we go about things in life. If you do something, you want to try and do it the best you can. And even if you're not at a level, you want to always try and improve. Those inboxes from those people in the industry, you know, they're overwhelming. But it goes to show as well that don't feel because you're asking a question that you're wrong. Even the people at the top ask the question. Anyway, that's enough from me. Let's get on with the video. The aim of it for us, and you know, the achievement for us of this video will be that if anyone watches this and it helps them catch a carp, that's our mission achieved. It's done what it has to do for us. It's you know, recorded our experiences. We've got all our memories in there and we can look back on it. But if it can also give something back to people in the angling community, we'll be happy. We're going to start off with swim 1. And one thing to remember is because we're showing you this in the video now, it doesn't mean that when you turn up, the fish are going to be in this area on that day. You still need to use your watercraft. You still need to walk around. You still need to look at the weather. And you still need to look at things that can affect where the fish are going to be located. This is basically a pure insight into that swim. And at the time of filming, if the fish were there, it's great for us. And some of the swims, they haven't been there, but they might be there when you turn up. So you still have to use your initiative. The left-hand side island in Peg 1 has definitely been one of the most productive spots for us, and not just where the cross is, all around it. I believe that when the fish are in the zone, they use this as a patrol route, and that's where you're going to pick up some bites. I also believe that a couple of resident fish hold in the area as well. So when they're not there in numbers in this peg, it can be really hard to get a bite, but I always think you've got a chance because I think there's fish that tend to stay in the area quite a lot and hold back in all the snaggy parts. It's hard to draw them out when it's like that though. Also, don't overlook the middle of the two islands. There's like a gravel bar that runs across that's now just covered in mussels, and it's a nice shallow area that fish love to travel across, and also they love to eat these things, as we all know. The right hand side island in Peg 1 can also be really productive, as the fish, if they're in the area, tend to sit under the bush. Off the side of it, you've got a mixture of silt, weed and a few mussel shells thrown in there. You will tempt the fish out. They do like to sit in and around it. So if they're in the area, you can definitely get a few bites off of this bush. The causeway area on the left side of Peg 1 has loads of good spots along it. And the good thing about here is you can actually walk round and have a look, and you can see if fish are there generally when the water clarity allows that. The area is made up of boulders where they built the causeway, so a fluorocarbon leader is really important here. But yeah, it's a really good area. The other good thing about this area is rather than having to spom and stuff like that, you can walk round and bait up. So you can walk round, you're not allowed to fish from the causeway, but you can put some bait in and then you can get your rig over the top of it, and you can also see how the fish are responding to your bait. So that's another perk to this area really. Anyway, that pretty much covers Peg 1. Again, we're not showing every area or anything like that, we're just giving you a bit more of an insight, so hopefully these areas can do a few bites for you. Probably number 19 and 20 of a crazy feeding spell where we can't keep a rod in the water. We haven't even bothered both setting up, we're just working together and taking it in turns. Nets and fish everywhere. I think it normally does go 30, but it's not that time of year. 29.10. I don't care. I don't care if she was 24. Look at that. Orangey belly, dark back. What a creature.
We've been here for about 7.5, 8 hours now, max. Mainline cell and the link, crumbed, cut up, holes, halves, everything. Fish are just going mad.
I think we've done 20 kilos now.
It's been relentless. Amazing day.
We've just had a double take for 36 and 37. Those nets down there are full of fish. This has to be the most fish I've ever had in a day set. This is 36 and 37 that we're playing now. It is unreal, unreal. And we're just fishing 3 rods. Right, we're approaching 40 fish. And for a day session, that is unreal.
2 fish over 33 pounds. What a crazy day. 40 plus fish.
8 hours fishing.
Madness. These came within the last sort of 5 or 6 bites. It's just been crazy. You know, we couldn't have done it if we'd been fishing on our own. Had to team up and just take it in turns. It was mad. What a day.
Let's go home.
Yeah.
Let's go home.
One of 5 for an afternoon's fishing, 34.12.
And here she is, crinkled out, 33 pound 10 ounces. There you go, look at that, scaly Barlows. We're a young fish, well probably 6 years old now, something like that, in the lake, 6 years in the lake, so a lot older than that, but 24.5 pound, can't grumble at that. Look at the scales on it, immense fish. Show you the other side and get her back. Fish number 8, sharing the rods. Great fun, look at that. Future of Farlow, scaly mirror. Tyson, 36 pounds 10 ounces. Get in.
Peg 2 is probably one of the most popular swims on the venue, and you can see why. It covers a lot of water, and also if I was to pick one area of the lake where the fish are always present, I'd like to say here. Alright, maybe not in the numbers they always are, but I believe in the body of water it will always be holding a fairly decent head of carp. And when they get here, they really do get here in numbers. It was very hard to show this one underwater. Lucky enough, Ed won a charity auction for a couple of divers to come in, and we've managed to get them to take the GoPro to show us some spots out there, and we'll show you the ones we can.
There you go, 25.5 pounds, an original Farlow Scaly. There's one probably original that's sort of a fully scaled that's bigger than this, but this is probably up there with the bigger of the original, and I've never had it on all the time I fished it, but I've always seen it and thought wow. And now to see it on the bank, look at that, what a fish. Show you the other side and get her back, but look at those scales. Oldest time this one, I bet.
We're on to Peg 3 now, and this is another popular swim and actually holds the record, but I'll come to that in a bit. You can fish off the side of the willow, which is a really nice spot, which is a combination of weed, silt and some clean bits with mussels. And when the fish get here, you can have quite a few. I've seen some mega hits off the side of the willow in my time at Farlow's. I haven't been lucky enough myself, but seeing them happen. Another great area in this peg is the island, and the fish like to regularly patrol around them. As you can see, it's nice and clear to present your bait. Also, the middle areas can be productive, as I believe the fish use this like a bit of a motorway, travelling to and from open water to the shallow end of the lake. And as I said before, this swim really does have a bit of history to it, which actually holds the record for a BCAC final of the most fish caught in any final, and that was by Wayne Mansfield and Ryan Need. They caught over £750 worth of fish in last year's final.
Swim 4 probably has one of the craziest features I've ever seen in my angling, and it's got a couple of nice islands in front of you too. The swim's nice and big, so you can comfortably get two of you in there, and you've both got decent areas to fish to too, if the fish are present. In front of you on the left's a nice willow. The branches are not too thick underneath either, so you can cast bags through. And underneath this willow, from Bodget side and Peg 4 side, well, Peg 33 if you don't know the old names, you can access this area, and the fish do love it under there when they get there. Like any area, the fish have to be there to catch them. So if they're there and they're there in numbers, you should have a good time. The island on the right is probably, this is the craziest sort of feature I've ever seen or come across in my angling. The island is really undercut. Off the side of the island, as you see in a minute, a good metre and a half is nice and clear, always clear. So you can see how many fish are getting around there. But the craziest thing about this island is the undercut. You know, you imagine eels going in and out of holes in the ocean. Well, they go in and out of holes in here as well. But the carp do too. They sit under there. They kind of know it's a sort of safe area. And yeah, they poke their heads in and out. And this is where the regulars of Farlows or people who fish it quite regular say, you know, it's about getting tight to that island. And that's because they know what's going on underneath. So the fish regularly go in and out of here all day. And they can access other parts as well from going in one hole. I've seen them go in one hole and come out another. But if you've put food nice and tight, they will come and eat. They, you know, they're animals. They need to eat. So you can draw them out of there. And they come out all the time. The difference between catching more and less, I believe, is how tight you are to the islands and how confident the fish are. They still have to be there. Anywhere you go fishing, the fish still have to be there. But as you're seeing here, they quite comfortably come out and feed off of the island and further off. But I do believe you catch more tight. We've had some brilliant days in this swim. I think this year, Lewis had sessions of 8 fish in a day. And then he had a bit of a crazy one. I think he managed to get in there when someone was leaving at 12 o'clock and had 12 or 13 carp. So you really can, when the fish are there, you know, catch them and catch them in numbers. The right hand side island in peg 4 continues into peg 5, and although it's not undercut as such like peg 4 on the corner, there is one undercut which we'll show you in a second, but it is deep off the sides. You've got 3.5, 4 foot straight off of the sides, and the fish do patrol the island tight still. So it is still about being tight in the zone. The only observation I'd say about being tight, though, is I guess I've seen people catch more fish tighter to the island in general. This is a general rule. Sometimes it doesn't always happen that. But off the island, I've probably seen people catch the bigger fish. Right, we'll take you in and show you the spot of the island that is undercut. Right, so rather than talk about the undercut islands at Farlows, I thought I'd show you. That's what this video is about, really, showing you what we've learned. And we're in a position where we're able to do that, so it's nice to share information with others. We're out in front of peg 5. We've come right up to the island here where you fish up against, and we're going to show you how undercut it is. And that's quite a lot on this island, actually. Bodgett and Leggett side, Critchfield side, peg 4, peg 33 and peg 5. This island's probably the most undercut. There's a couple of other islands that are undercut, but not so much as this, really. It's more about fishing up against them where they're flat and you've got 3 foot straight away, but this one's undercut. So we've got an oar. I'll show you how far it goes under. And that's right under. You can hear it in there, all soft. I could keep going. And the fish sit under there. And yeah, you'll definitely catch a few if you get tight to that spot. But what a looker for the first one. Absolute beauty. Look at them scales. Stocked about 4 years ago now, probably around £16 it was stocked, and now it's at mid-20s, just over 25. What a stunning fish, ridiculous. The scales are just ridiculous. Right, so 27.12, starting linear from Lake 1. Beautiful fish. One of about 8 fish today, but this is the only one that I bothered videoing. Stunning creature. A bit like the Smelly Bank and Peg 2, I believe this area always holds fish. Maybe not in the numbers always, and they move up and down in numbers, and when they are here in numbers you can really catch them. Through the summer months and winter sunny days, and when the wind direction's right, I recommend you get in this area and you have a look around and, you know, look for signs, because they are quite visible here, especially when the Farlow's water's clear. Why do I think they're up here? I think the depth of the water is obviously a bit shallower than the main body in front of Smelly Bank, so then it heats up quicker as well, and on bright sunny days they can absorb that sun. If I had to pick a key feature up here, it would be the weed. Like most lakes, the fishing Farlows absolutely love the weed. And I'd say it's also one of the downsides to people who come here as well. I hear a lot of people who are put off by it and don't know how to approach it and not confident. The only way you'll get confident in doing something is by going out and having a go and doing it. And once you start to get successful doing it, then you'll start to become the norm. You know, we never all got in a car and just started driving. The weed beds in Farlows have got clear spots all around them, so there's no such thing as not being able to find a drop. You just got to work hard to do that. I'm not going to cover the screen with loads and loads of X's because I think I'll be covering the spots. So when we're flying around this area, have a look. We'll be looking at some of the weed beds in the area, and you know, I'll put an X here for an example. You can see there that's nice and clear, easily present a bait. I'm not one of these people who's big about casting solid bags just because it's weedy or chods. I still want to know sort of what sort of length of weed I'm fishing over. I haven't got a problem with fishing over the weed in Farlows. The fish still eating it, as you've just seen in that clip. But I wouldn't cast in the middle of a weed bed on the top. I just don't think it's realistic. I don't think even if they did take the rig, I don't think I'd get them in. In front of Swim 8, there really is an abundance of these weed beds, and you can have some great results off it. And it's a nice double swim where you get two of you in there and you can have some real fun. Here's the little clip out in front of the swim. Also, the surface fishing around certain areas, it's not too weedy in places. You can get away with it. Just be cautious that you have to really have a heavy main line. And the rule is 15 pound hook link on the surface fishing anyway. So don't go and break that rule, because that's there for a reason. We don't want to be leaving hooks in fish, especially when the weed is as bad as it is in this area. There's a church in the distance. I generally fish in line with that and find quite a few nice spots. I'm going to show you one here now with a camera. This is the gist of sort of what you're trying to find out in front of the Goose's area. The weed's a bit lower at the time of filming this, but all that weed will be a lot higher. But these clear spots will generally be clear, and I think they're like a sandy clay, silty sort of area, and you get a nice drop on them. And the low weed around it as well, some of the lower weed I wouldn't have an issue with fishing over the top of. It's just those big weed beds, you want to try and stay away from them. When you get it right in this swim, you don't have to cast miles. You can cast short as well. The fish are all over this swim. Just because you're in the swim and you've got a lot of water in front of you, you don't have to cast right out. Start short in and work your way out, because if you start long and work your way back, normally you've scared the fish off with your line. So I recommend starting off a bit shorter if they're in the zone, and then work your way out rather than the other way around. Swim 9 is a nice little bay that you get to yourself, really. And it's one of those little swims that really can do some fish. The big commons come out of here a few times, actually. Not to me, but I've seen it come out a few times. I think less is more in this area. You know, the max sort of rods I'd use would be 2, but most of the time when I personally fish it, I use 1. What I like most about the swim is you can actually walk round to one of the areas, one of the really good areas in here, and you can look down and see how the fish are doing or what they're doing or if they're even there. And you can also see how they're, you know, feeding on your bait, which ways they're coming from. Sometimes they come from the left, sometimes they come from the right. And then you can go and put that information into your fishing and bait accordingly. You can also see when they're clearing you out as well, because in Farlows, what I think happens quite a lot is people put the bait in, and from all this underwater filming, they think they're not there, but actually they probably cleared the lot out and buggered off. So this is a great swim because you can actually get around there and use your best weapon in fishing, which is your eyes, and you can see what's happening, especially on this area anyway. The only thing I'd advise in this area is don't get caught around there too long, because you end up not fishing and just watching them, and I've done that countless times. But yeah, it's a swim that probably gets overlooked. I wouldn't say it's up there and goes first, but definitely one that on the right weather and when it's really busy can do some serious damage. So 28 pounds, 14 ounces, really busy today. So I popped in a little swim, it's left behind. So it just goes to show that even when it's busy, you get in these little swims, get rewarded. Rod was only in the water for an hour. And yeah, 28 pound, 14 ounces from the little snag behind me. Happy days, go home happy. Swim 10 is pretty similar fishing to Peg 8 in terms of looking and fishing around the weed beds that you'll see in a minute when we put the drone up. The only real difference in this swim is you also have an island out in front of you on the right that can produce fish. They get right around that island, but be cautious at certain times of the year when the water level's a bit down. Really tight to this island, it's really shallow. When we fished it, we tend to be a metre and a half off it, depending on what the water level's doing. Don't neglect the right-hand side margin either. This has produced lots of fish over the years, and one of our friends has had a mega hit down there of like 9-10 fish in a few hours. So you can walk up the bank and have a look along there as well and see what they're doing.
At the bottom of the road bank where it meets the M25 bank, there's a long island, and this area is known as Pike Alley. Along this island, there's loads of clear spots, and I believe you get a lot of resident fish that hang around these areas a fair bit. When fishing up against the island, you can see there's loads of hanging brambles, but as you can see, it's really clear on the bottom, and you'll see these clear spots all along the island. But the key thing about this area is when the carp get down here in numbers, you can spot them a mile off, and they give themselves away. It's also a great area to have multiple fish, and an area that gets overlooked.
Along the motorway bank, you've still got the island that Lewis was talking about in Pike Alley. That's sort of a hot spot in the first few swims. And in around that with holes in the weed. All along that island, you'll be able to find clear spots like this amongst the weed. Some parts are weedy, but there's a lot of clear spots every now and again across there. Further up in a swim like Pipes and in the open water sort of area, you'll be looking for spots like we're about to show you. So there's a lot of weed around, but the spots are really obvious, and when you find them, that's the sign of where the fish have been, basically. That's like all these spots. But Anton's just cast there, and this is the spot he was fishing at the time of capturing a fish you're about to see, a very special fish for Anton. But this is sort of a similarity to all of around this area. This is what the spots are like that you're looking for, end of the arm and places like that. So coming down the lake to see Anton, on the way to work, he said, come up, I've got a PB. I said, oh, why not? Of course I'll come up. done the photos. New PB, £35 linear. For that fish, I'm not 100%, but I'd say it's the biggest it's ever been. It's not one of the named lins, but it is one of the known big lins. There's 2 named, 2 unnamed, and this is one of the unnamed. And at £35 in, well, what is it, the 2nd of Feb? 3rd of Feb?
3rd of Feb.
3rd of Feb, you won't be grumbling at that. Happy days.
Woo!
On your way to swim 29, you come across this reedy channel. The fishing Farlows do like the reeds. We haven't done loads of time in this swim, but we've done a bit of stalking. I think we've managed 3 in a day or something like that. But we've done various work parties in this area, and you can actually, in the winter, you can pick the fish out of the reeds. So they do get in there, and there can be opportunities in this area, and it's definitely worth a little look when you're walking around to see if you can spot signs of fish. Swim 29's where my Farlow's journey really started. I remember Anton ringing me one day and saying, do you fancy doing a day session at Farlow's? Never been before. Went with him, managed to catch this stunner on a day session up there, and it just clicked. I just wanted to do a bit more. I remember getting straight on the phone to Lewis and saying, you know, you have to come up here, let's try this place. And that's where the journey sort of all started. And on reflection of that, in terms of Swim 29, I think it's a great place to get your first bite. Every time we've put a camera in here, we've seen fish, and that's been in the depths of winter as well. We're going to have a look at this spot now at the back reeds. And this spot really surprised me. When we were out and we started this filming process, we did a lot of filming in here in December where we dropped the camera. And I didn't really expect to see much, but the surprise was that every time we put the camera in, we saw fish, and we chose to do that round here because no one would really fish round here that much in the depths of winter. So there was lots of opportunities to drop the camera without disturbing people. And this area here, if you watch the last Farlow's video, you see a lot of fish going in and out of this zone all the time. And, you know, then we done a work party once and we picked out loads of fish out of the back reeds. You could actually walk around and just pick them up. It was in the winter as well. So I think the reeds are probably letting off a degree of warmth and the fish feel comfortable in that zone. But this black area does bites all year round. The next area we're showing you in this swim is a really popular one, and that's for good reason. It's a nice shelf, the fish absolutely love it, they get on it quite regular. But the key advantage to this area is, again, like the others when we talked about earlier, you're able to walk around and see what the fish are doing. A bit like surface fishing, really, being able to see how they're reacting, and you can react to that in your approach. The area itself is made up of a few stones and just a gravelly area, really. And when the fish get in there, they really, really love it. When the fish get up here and you get them on the bait, they love it. So, you know, being able to see is definitely an advantage. Don't ever walk around here with your rod out. Like, that's just silly. If you're walking around here, make sure someone's with your rod, or, you know, you're reeling in, and then you can walk around and see what's happening. Lucky enough, we also managed to film this take that you're seeing on your screen from that area. And we're buzzing with that because we're fishing blind when it comes to takes and the cameras and recording them. We haven't got a live feed, so to capture one on film and get the take, we were over the moon, to be honest with you. And we managed another one in a minute. This next spot you're seeing is off the side of the metal girders where the girder meets the bush, sort of the last one, the one you can dare to get as tight to as you wish. And the fish, you know, I think they come out either side of the bush, really. You can fish the other side of this bush too, and they keep popping in and out. And this is a bush that really does hold fish. You're going to see a scaly fish in a bit that I catch a bit later in the video. And we filmed that every time we dropped the camera, it was there. And I managed to catch it from the area eventually. But every time we'd put the camera in, you know, December, March, when we went back and put it in, he was still there. It was quite crazy to watch, really. £30 an ounces, 2 ounces, something like that. Just over 30. Happy days. Here she is, proper old fish, dark, lovely. Not your typical Farlow's Common, to be honest, quite plump for a Farlow's Common. They're normally really lean fighting machines, but really happy with her. Show you the other side. Lovely fish. Get her back home with her friends. A really frustrating moment in front of the underwater camera here, but we're not using the technology that a company can buy and use. They're making money, and I don't begrudge them. In fact, I'm quite jealous. I'd love to be able to buy that sort of stuff. But 15 minutes before the take of this 31 pounds an ounces common, we've run out of battery. What a sad day for that point, but who cares? We'll get some takes on camera, I'm sure. It's only the start of the journey, and we're just trying to share everything we know, and we just enjoy being here, to be honest, and fishing. Let's let this beauty go.
Swim 30 will always be a big part of my Farlow's journey, and that's because it was the first swim I fished at Farlow's, and it was kind to me. I think I caught over 8 fish that session. When you come to a new venue and catch 8 fish, it just gets you buzzing and wanting more. I'm thinking, I like a bit of this. That's what kind of kicked in that bug to keep me coming, and where it's all started. This area is where the fish usually come to spawn. Certain years they may change, but they also hold in the weeds throughout the year, so it's not just an area to fish one time of the year before and after spawning, when the fish are eating all the naturals and their own eggs. You can get hits throughout the year.
Swim 31, also known as the Knuckle, is a nice swim. It's on a little spit and you can fish either side, left or right. This side we're looking at now is the right side as you walk down, and this faces out toward the island that Peg 5 and Peg 33 also fish. Fish do like it in this area, and it's a very popular swim. Out towards the island, you're fishing similar to the other pegs really. When you get out there, it'll be nice and deep off. It is an undercut in this section of the island, so it's a bit different to 5 and around there, but it is deep off of the side of it, so you're looking at 3 to 4 foot is what I'd say, just as an estimate. Also, there's a margin on your right, there's a bush. Behind that bush, no one can really fish that zone. That's another hot spot. Some of the cleverer fish, they go around there because they know there's no pressure and they're not going to get caught. And you can pick them off from that zone, really. Over the other side, it's a completely different world. You're fishing it very similar to pipes and the end of the arm. You're looking for holes in the weed. But you do have a little island in front of you, and off of the front of that, there's some mussel beds. And that's similar to the island behind it. This is also a great area when the surface fishing is on to attack them. So yeah, I've just come down to see Lewis and Chris, who are doing a couple of hours with one rod each, bit of a floater rotor, if a certain company called it that anyway, but yeah, basically surface fishing. And put the drone out to try and get a take on camera, and Chris has done the business, old Tom Cruise over here. Right. So we've managed to get the take on camera of this stunning Lake One Common. Let's get her back and hopefully get another one to show you. Look how dark that is. Wicked, man. Let's go again.
So this fish beat me up a little bit. It went round the corner of the sort of point we're on here. So I had to call the boat out. Lovely battle from the boat. That's what it's there for. Get in trouble. Fish safety. Best thing to do is make sure you call the bailiffs out. Very happy with this one though. Personal best, £30, 8 ounces. Been waiting for this for a long time.
Swim 32 is one of those swims that can be productive all year round, and it probably holds some of the deeper water in this area. In general, when you approach this swim, you're going to have to deal with weed, definitely in the summer months, so it's about finding, gaps in between it, very similar to other places that we've talked about in this video. Around the islands and stuff like that, and off the sides of the islands, there's a bit more gravelly, a bit shelly. But in general, you're going to have to deal with the weed and try and find clear spots. Down to the left-hand margin, there was an old tree that got cut out. The fish still love it down there, and still a little bit of a stump in the water. This is a good area to try, and probably one of the areas that I sort of aim for first when I'm in the swim. From there, I sort of work the swim like a clock on this side, fishing all the way around to sort of 11, half 11. And you'll find spots like this all around that sort of area. These are what you're trying to find. The weed was a little bit shorter here, so I was able to find it easy for you. It's like a sandy, clay sort of bottom, and they're not massive. This one's quite massive actually that we found, but this one's where we put the X, but there's a few smaller ones about as well. You probably can see them on the drone a little bit more. Around the islands, as I said before, it's more muscly, shelly, gravelly, and you share this across with 11 and 12. They've got access to similar sort of water, really. Generally, though, in this swim 32, we're never going to cover all the spots, so you're going to have a lead about and find them, because there is so many to be found, and they do change every year with different sort of weed growths. Out the back as well, you've got this little bay, and this produces some really big fish. We've had some 30s out of there, so it's definitely worth a try in the back bay as well. Swim 33, also known as Bodget and Leggett. I really like this swim, not so much about the incredible features, more the fact that you don't really get disturbed by other anglers in this area, because it's your own sort of body of water in this nice section of the lake. We've done a few sessions in here this year, not so much me, but Lewis has been fishing with a friend of ours, Dave, and they've had some really good results. They've had some bad days, but they've had some really incredible results. Anyway, let's go back to having a little talk about the swim itself. Everyone sort of heads for the islands, and that is the case, but there is weed out in front of this swim that the fish really love too, and when the islands are quiet, you can generally catch off them. Along the islands, they're not really undercut this side on the inside. It's all about being quite deep straight away. So we're talking about that 3 foot again, and as an estimate, and all along there. You've just got to find the gaps in the trees to be able to get as tight as you can, really. And if you can't get tight, anywhere sort of off of those trees is going to be good enough. It's going to have to be good enough. The fish constantly patrol these islands, and I've been saying that over and over, and if they're there in numbers patrolling, you'll catch them, and even when they're not really there, you normally get the odd chance. There's a spot here that you really want to be careful of. Right on the corner where the island goes round, there's a bit of a tree stump. I believe it's a tree stump from what I can see, and if you go too tight here, you can end up getting caught in that. So you want to be a little bit off on the corner. This is an exception to the norm because it's underwater, it's hidden, no one can really see it. The fish do like this as well. They do get underneath the little crevices underneath it. But trying to gauge to be a bit away from it is really important in this zone. The fish will hug it on their way round when they go round and up to hug the island. That's what they do in this sort of area. They hug it. If they're not in this zone, they will head out to the open water in the weed beds. It's got some serious weed beds. The other island on the other side is pretty similar, but I'd say it's slightly shallower off of there. So I say instead of the 3 to 4 foot we're probably talking about the 2.5 to 3 sort of. But again, it's nice off of there. It's pretty similar to these islands. They're all similar, and the fish again, they get right up here. And this one's a bit more forgiving, I'd say. I'd say it slopes off a little bit slower, so you've got more leeway of being how tight you want to be. And here you can see the fish in the weed I was talking about just before we go to this other island. This island here's produced some of the better fish for us in this swim. Just off the back of it, you've got this nice clear spot, and just outside of that, it's full of weed. And the fish, this is what the fish are doing this. Anyway, I'm going to hand over to Lewis and Dave, who have done a few sessions in here this year and had some mega results.
Right, here we have it, another bigger one, 3112, lovely linear. This is an old original. Yeah, well chuffed with this one, I've never had that before, so buzzing.
We're on to the Smelly Bank now, and this is probably one of the most popular areas on Farlows, and that's for good reason. If you tally everything up across the course of a year, I'd probably say it's one of the most consistent areas. There's loads of spots out here, loads of silt spots, hard spots, and it doesn't get as weedy as other areas in the warmer months either. We're going to look mainly at the gravel bars, and depending on the weather, people are fishing on the top of them, the front of them, the back of them. What I will say about the gravel bars is you have to fish them cleverly, otherwise you're going to get cut off. Everyone's feeling that dump, and some people are thinking it's gravel. It's actually, these things are covered in mussels now, razor sharp. There is a leader ban at Farlows, but your way round that is they do allow fluorocarbon leaders. So get one of those on, and hopefully that will help you bank in this area. They are a real key feature in this zone. Another thing I'll say, in the colder months, you can maybe get away with bittier things, pellet, maggots, stuff like this. In the warmer months, I would recommend staying well away from that and using bigger boilies only and sort of tiger nuts, because the bream absolutely love this zone. But please treat them with the same respect you do the carp. Along this bank as well, the swims are really comfortable. You can park behind pretty much all of them. So it's nice comfort fishing. I think this is one of the reasons that make it popular, but an area that constantly receives bait is always going to have a flow of fish coming and visiting. The thing that gets most overlooked, I say, is the margin in this area. As we put some cameras in along, and we've seen some very big fish, and we've also caught some. So don't neglect the margin along the Smelly Bank. Would be, sort of one of those tips that gets really overlooked. The factory bank's got a habit of producing some really big fish and some really big hits. All the way along, there's lots of different features. On the first swim along there, you've got a little island, and off the tip of that is a really nice sort of gravelly, clear spot. If you was to go halfway up the island, you'd probably gauge yourself with a bar that runs out from there all the way across, And the biggest neglect on the factory bank that I think happens is the margins. The margins do produce fish along there, so don't neglect them. Out in front of you, you're not fishing very far out, so the middle swims, you're looking for those shallower humps, those shallower bars, and it can get quite weedy. So it is, again, about leading around, getting confident in being able to feel that lead down and find the spots. We're going to show you a couple of examples. So out here amongst the weed, you've got these nice gravelly spots. And there, you know, when you find them, you're going to feel that on the lead. That's going to send some vibration through. When the fish get here, on the right wind, this area can become devastating. I mean, they'll be topping, you know, up 3 rod lengths out in front of you sometimes. This is what you're looking for, those little clear patches amongst the weed. Also, be careful out there, because in front of the middle swim, there is a old car. And people thinking they're getting cut off on other things. Yep, don't know how it got there, but just see it on the camera. The back bay on the factory bank is another area that really can produce, but I would say it gets overlooked quite a lot, really. So when you're on Farlows and you're walking along the factory bank, it's definitely worth stopping here, having a look, and, you know, seeing if you can see any signs. We've had a few results around here as well. Corey caught this one. I'm just holding it up for him because it's a little bit heavy for him.
Flips. Because it's a little bit too heavy for him.
Yeah, I think Corey should have held it.
So there you go, 21 and 27.2. Nice brace of commons from the factory bank. We're onto the pads now, and this area is really exciting. The reason for it being so exciting is the bank's quite high along the road, and it's quite shallow in this area, so you can generally see what the fish are doing, like surface fishing. When you're up high and you're seeing them, you know, it's exciting. So being able to see them moving about on the bottom and how they're reacting to your fishing is good. This area is quite weedy on its day, but there's still loads of spots, and that really is kind of summing this area up. So you're going to have to lead about, and you're going to have to find areas like we're about to show you on your screen. So all in amongst it, you've got this stony sort of gravel, I guess, that's been picked away by the fish, and they've created these really clear spots in the pads. It's like they've been man-made, really. They're that clear. You just go around, it's really, really weedy, and then you come across all these sort of spots. There are a couple of nice areas around the back. In the beach swim, you've got a tree that's down, and in that snag that we're going to show you, they like to hold in there, and I believe resident fish stay in there all the time and all year round. And then round the back of that area, you've got another bit that's like that. I don't think this is just a summer area. I definitely think there's residents in here. We've actually filmed the big common in here in the winter, which is crazy. Like December, she was in here. She wasn't moving much, and it was just like, yeah. So we've seen fish in here all year round, and it does tend to do fish all year round. So don't be put off by the colder weather just because it's shallow. There's holding points all around the area in the pads. What I would say about it, that's a little bit, I don't know, of a negative, is when it gets busy in the area, unless they're there in numbers and it goes absolutely crazy, sometimes it can slow it down. But if they're still being there, just push to the more snaggier areas. But if they are up for it, it doesn't matter how many people are in the pads. If it's got fish in there, head over, because it will still fish. I've seen it fish when it's been absolutely mobbed in there with people doubling up in a swim. And the surface fishing in this area can be immense, as I'm about to show you now.
Me and Daniel just walking around trying to find a fish on the top, and yeah, we've managed one apiece, and Here's my one.
There you have it, another Farlow's Lake mirror from the pads, this one. We have got an underwater camera out, but the clarity is a little bit going a little bit. Hopefully the take's on film. Right, short day session, round in the pads, well, channel. And I've managed the big ghosty from Lake One. So happy days, never had it before. Yeah, bit of a character as you can see. Not the biggest fish in the lake, but it is the biggest of its type. Get her back home. We're on to swim 61 now, and this is a nice area, especially if you're going with a group of anglers. You're fishing on like an island. It's called Scott's Island. Some people call it Scott's Island. But it's basically an area of the lake where you can group up if there's a few of you and you're quite close, so you don't have to bring the rods in to go and see each other or photograph each other's fish, stuff like that. It also gives you access to a good body of water along this side, opposite the Smelly Bank, and you're also facing out to Peg 1 on the right-hand side of Scott's. As with Peg 1, on the right hand side of Scott's, you'll be facing out and fishing down the causeway area, and you'll also have the islands. I'm not going to show you too much of the bottom down the causeway. We've done that already from Peg 1. It's very, very similar. So all along there is kind of made up of boulders where they built the causeway, and then it goes nice and clear. The only other things there is the islands as well. So we've talked about the causeway, which is this area, and then you've got the islands, the back of the islands that you fish in Blankers, and also out to an island called Mix Island in the middle off the side. Off the side of those islands is mussel beds. We've talked about them as well in Peg 1. So it's all mussely around there really, and that's what you're fishing over, and that's what you'll feel when you're casting the lead. It will feel gravelly, but it is mussely out there. And when the fish get here, like anywhere in Farlow's that I've said in this video, I like to think that I've showed you that fish get all round, and when they get there, you're going to get opportunities. The other great thing about here is you have access out into the open water if you're going out the front of the swim. And the fish can really stack up here, exactly the same as when we talked about Peg 2 and when we talk about along the Smelly Bank. So when the fish get out here, they can get out here in real numbers and you can have some really good sessions. It's a deeper body of the lake, so you're obviously working with depth. With the Zig Band, sometimes it can be very, very frustrating in this zone, but hopefully if they're not pushing down in the really hot weather, you can get them going down during the evening, or you can fish the shallower spots around the island, so you're still left with options. Anyway, we'll have a look at a few of our results from this swim.
£30, 10 ounce. Well chuffed with this one. Went off this morning just on a pop-up rig, and yeah, over the moon with it. In mint condition, the mouth is in pristine condition, and as you can see, yeah, it's a belter.
Right, so another Lake One Scaly, 25.6. Yeah, a bit of a character, you can see by the shape. Really old fish. Seen her feeding on some of the underwater footage actually, and she's been loving the bait. She's been, yeah, scoffing. Managed to catch her. Happy days. Lovely scales, really old. Let's get her back. Right, 29.12. Not quite a 30, but who cares? Old as they can see, massive eyes on this one. Happy days. Another Farlow's Warrior.
This year we made it a bit of a target of ours to go into some overlooked swims, and it really did surprise us, to be honest with you. We always knew we'd catch 1 or 2 fish out of these areas, as they were good banker spots because they don't get a lot of pressure, and the fish know that, they're not stupid. What we didn't know, we'd have hits up to 9 fish in a day. So when you turn up to Farlow's and think it's busy, go and have a look around at these little areas, because we've been there on some of the busiest weekends and walked around and been shocked to see some of these swims that produced mega hits still free.
£34 Farlow's Common from a very overlooked area. Happy days, get in there. Let's get some shots, get it back. It's a very young fish. It's one of the stockies from a few years back now, but doing really well. £34. I'm sure it's going to be one of the future 18. I'm buzzing to have caught her. Farlow's is a special place for catching loads of special carp. But another thing that's up there that it's done for us has made us meet some incredible people. And we've become friends with a guy called Dave, and he'd fished Farlow's on and off since his younger days, since he was in school. Back then there weren't many 30s around in Farlow's, and he's always wanted to catch a Farlow's 30, but never really gone, gun-ho at it. And this year, as we've become closer and closer, we sort of discussed it as a team target to help him achieve that. And not only did he achieve it, he done it in style. When I had the £34 common that you just see, Dave went and caught not 1 but 3 30s, and all of them over £32, which is incredible angling. And it was great to be there to share his moment with him.
Right, it's been a long time coming this day. Cut my cloth on Farlow's when I was a youngster, and I never had a 30-pounder in all these years. I've come very close. I think 529s I've had. And today the carp gods have rewarded me not only a 30 but a £35 mirror, an old one by the look of it. £34.5 Farlow's Cucktail Linear, an old original, one of the A-team, what a fish. The last couple of days, couldn't have made it up. This is a PB common for me, a fish called Tyson, £33 12 ounce. This is the full 30 we've had this week. Third for me, over the moon. What a session. Lovely times.
Lake Free at Farlow's has probably provided me with some of my happiest Farlow's memories. When everyone was out in spring trying to catch big fish at big wakes, me and Lewis decided to head up here and teach Corey how to fish a little bit and enjoy his development and just have some family fun really and laughter. And we probably enjoyed it more than going out there and hunting big fish. It weren't important. This just felt better. Grandad would come up, Corey smiled, he'd have fun, no worries in the world, just fishing. No, you're in this swim, you're in that swim. It was, to be honest with you, it was pretty empty most of the time, but going up there with family and making memories and watching him enjoy himself was something special. And it's one of those Farlow's memories that goes a long way, and I think me and him will remember it for a long time, and Lewis.
Daniel and I set ourselves a bit of a mission on Lake 2, and that was to try and catch a 30-pounder. But along the journey we got to meet some incredible carp, and this lake really has gone from strength to strength in the recent years, as you're about to see.
There you go, one I've never had. Lewis has had it before and I've always thought, oh, I'd like that one. It's like an orangey belly, almost like a koi sort of strain to it. What a creature. And at £24, 6 ounces, can't complain. Scott the bailiff's had it before at night, and I remember saying to him, man, that fish at night, it just doesn't do the photos don't do it justice. You just don't see that orange.
Just gonna get this Farlow's Lake 2 gem, fully scaled mirror, back in to his home. Let's get him back and buzzing with this.
£30, 6 ounces. Lake 2 mirror, biggest fish in the lake. Happy days! Get in there! Target achieved.
We'd both just like to say a huge thanks to the Farlow's team. Without them, creating a video like this wouldn't have been possible. And to be able to watch what they've done over the last few years to the venue has been incredible. The stocking programme has been great to watch, and they're also a very proactive team that gets things done. Over the years, they've invested a lot of money back into the venue, rather than a business that just takes out, like stocking all 3 lakes, secure fencing around the whole venue. They've otter fenced the venue. They've also built a new building with great facilities for customers to use, and they've also resurfaced part of the road which had real issues with large potholes. Lucky enough, I've been on hand to see them catch a few fish as well, and hopefully try and catch the moment for them. But again, a huge thanks to the Farlow staff for their support for this video.
Yes! PB! It's busy down here tonight. They're still having it though. Absolutely buzzing. I'm going to talk you through our baiting approach now on Farlow's. And we see it a lot on the page that people saying it's a boilie only water, it's this, it's that. I believe that to an extent. There's a lot of bream in Farlow's and they can become a pain. So tiger nuts and boilies are your go-to. But I do believe this is area related, and sometimes you can get away with other things that can create a bigger hit. I would never dream of putting anything out in the open water in the warmer months. In the colder months, you'll get away with bigger things out there, but I wouldn't really dream of doing it in the summer. I think it's a big risk, and I think 80% of the time you'll get up with bream. It'll be a boilie based sort of feed out there. We've used them on their own, not glugging them up, and we've put them out. And the Farlow's fish absolutely love boilies. There's no if, buts or maybes. And fish up and down the country, you see how many fish get caught on these. We've seen what they do, and they will sit on there and scoff them. In this clip, I think we filmed this, all that was gone within an hour and a half that you're seeing on the screen, but we will release some full videos of that on our channel later on. Spice things up a bit, we had the Smart Liquid. We've been using it for about a year now, over a year I'd say, and this stuff just, it boosts them, it gets the food signals going quicker in the water, and anything that's going to attract the carp and use to my advantage when my time's limited on the bank is going to help me. We also boost them up a little bit with stick mix. That's going to cloud the water up. Again, carrying this, sending more food signals. And that can only be a good thing. We did try and film the Smart Liquid with this on to try and show you guys, but unfortunately it just clouded up the water too much. But the fish did absolutely go crazy when we filmed them. This stuff has accounted for loads of Farlow's fish for me and Lewis in solid bags. Also the particle, you know, sometimes we mix it together, sometimes we fish these things on their own. The Farlow's fish do like it. The problem is the bream, but you know, sometimes we'll invest in it in areas that we think the bream don't get around the lake, and we start off with this and we can have some mega results if the bream don't turn up. If the bream did turn up, we'd straight back to the boiler, you know. In the open water in the warmer months, I wouldn't dare put any of this out. In the colder months when things can be a bit more bitty and, you know, there's less movement from the bream, then you get away with this stuff a lot more. And also, like every angler, then you can start putting some maggots into your mix and putting them and getting them involved. In terms of hook bait, our approach is quite simple, really. We'll fish the best one for the contour we're fishing over. There's loads of info on the internet about that, so I'll let you read all about that and don't want to bore you with all that stuff in this video. But boosting our hook baits is a key factor. We want our hook baits to be sending off the most powerful signal they can to hopefully get the fish to come in the swim and be drawn to that food item. And that will help you get, you know, quicker bites. I don't want them to eat all the freebies first. I want them to go for my bait first. In terms of rig, I think it's about adapting it to the contours you're fishing over. So I'm not going to go through loads, but in general, we like to use low pop-up rig or wafter rigs on the clearer bottoms. Then when we start to think about the weed and the silt, low stuff, pop-up rigs, hinge stiffs, something like that. And then if it's really weedy, chod rigs, loads about this on the internet. And I'm not going to cover that. We've covered quite a lot. So go and check out what rigs to use over what contour, and that should send you in the right direction if you're not confident in what you already use. The Farlow's carp absolutely love it on the surface, and it can be great fun if you get them going, and you can have some really good sessions. What I'd recommend is getting yourself down a pet store. They're quite cheap mixers, $8.99 for a 10 kg sack you see in there. The birds can be a bit of an issue, I'm not going to lie, but you know, the best way around that is to try and feed them off, and once they're happy and they're fed, they'll move off. It's their home more than ours. You know, let's not treat them with disrespect. Feed them, let them move off, and then enjoy the fishing. We'll always add a little bit of oil to our mixers. That can just help with sending out food signals and flattening off the surface too, if there's a bit of a breeze. But yeah, we'll leave you with a few clips of some Farlow's carnage on the surface. So an afternoon on Lake 2 surface fishing with a few friends. I think we've had 15 carp between us, and this one at £22 was the highlight of the day. This place has got so much to offer. Definitely on Lake 2, a bit of surface action in the summer. come to the end of our Farlow's video now, and we've been lucky enough to meet some stunning creatures along the way. Also, we've made loads of memories with family and friends. We've also met lots of new people. There's been a lot more to it than just going, catching the fish and trying to film them. We do this on an amateur level, so we're just trying our best, and it's all in spare time, and we don't make nothing from this. This is just us wanting to share our passion and our love for angling with other people. The Farlow's videos on our channel have had a great response, and this video's, to try and help all those people that have inboxed us and asked us for information, and hopefully a lot of that's come across in the video and we've answered some of those questions. I'd like to thank everyone who's helped us along the way, and all the people that have, been there, and some of the people we've enjoyed moments with. I'd also like to thank all the people who've tried to put us down along the way too, because all that's done is pushed us to show us that it doesn't matter what people think or what people say about you. This is our hobby, and we're going to enjoy it the way we want to enjoy it and how we want to do it. This will be our last video on Farlow's for the foreseeable future, but it won't be the end of us fishing it. We're still going to be going up there and trying to catch some of those carp that evaded us. And never say never, one day we may come back with another video. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll leave you with this last session that just goes to show, no matter how long you fish here or how many times you fish here, magic moments can still happen that are different from others.
Not official name, but nicknamed Leghorn Mirror. That's what some of the staff call her. 32.4. So I think we'll end the video there on such a brute and old fish. And I'd just like to say thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope it's give you an insight into Farlow's. And me, Lewis, and the other guys who have been in the video, we definitely recommend you getting down here and having a go and catching some of the mega carp you've seen. Thanks for watching, and see you again soon. Right, so I was going to end the video, but I didn't know I'd catch another 30. So I thought I'd show you this one. So, brace of 30s today. This one 32.6 after the Leghorn Mirror. What a fish, tiny little scales near the back end. You're not going to believe it. So I was just doing photos of the 32.6 and my rod's rattled off, got disturbed, and now I think I've got another 30. So let's slip this one back, which is the second 30 of the day. So there you have it. Lovely fish. Thank you for the memories again. Let's slip her back. So I was going to end the video on the first 30, then the second, now the third in a day. Crazy, 3 30s on a day session. Thanks to all the staff at Farlow's, thanks to everyone who's helped Mainline Baits. See you next time. Get in!